Mr. Diamond? Mr. McDevitt?
Here.
Ms. Bramer?
Here.
Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Driscoll?
Here.
Mrs. Frazier?
Here.
Mr. Simpson?
Here.
Ms. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. Dickinson?
Here.
Mr. Merlino? Mr. Stroud? Mr. Weil?
Here.
Mr. McGowan?
Here.
Ms. Seaver?
Here.
Mr. Beatty? Mr. Beatty?
It's a good thing we can see them but not hear them.
I'm here. Thanks.
Oh, that's.
Ms. Shepler?
Here.
Mr. Garrity?
Here.
Chairman Thomas?
Here.
Quorum is established.
Thank you. Motion to approve the minutes of the November 20th, 2020 board meeting and the December 9th, 2020 special board meeting, subject to correction by the clerk. Moved by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Garrity. Are there any corrections that anyone has? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have our three legislators listed on our agenda. I'm not sure if any of them are here. I don't believe they are. Okay, then at this time, I would ask Brian LaFleur, Director of OES, to stand up here to front. Anyways, I'll put my mask on. I'll read it.
What did I do wrong?
You're in trouble now.
Want me up there, Frank, or you want me down here?
Right there. Well,
All right,
wherever you want to be.
all right, I got you.
You know, have them
Yeah,
come a
maybe.
little closer so that they can see them on the Zoom.
Right.
I got you. Okay.
A little bit more. There you go.
6 feet
He's
away.
director now, Craig.
On TV.
Well, this is a certificate of excellence, and it's presented to Brian LaFleur. On behalf of the Warren County Board of Supervisors, in recognition of the tremendous dedication demonstrated in providing a combination of 21 years of service to the citizens of Warren County through the Warren County Fire Coordinator's Office and the Warren County Office of Emergency Services. You are a credit to our community. Signed by myself.
Very good.
Brian brought us from civil defense and fire coordinator to an office of emergency services. He's got the county in good shape with emergency equipment and hazardous material equipment. And the only thing I would have to say is, again, I'm sorry that your building, the garage, took so long to get accomplished. Thank you again. And next, I would ask Supervisor Simpson to come forward and seeing as how today is his last meeting as a supervisor from the town of Horicon. It's been a tradition to, or has started as a tradition to give a clock on the ending of your time, and this clock will mark your time, I guess. You know, So, yeah, that's what we see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
I really appreciate all of you, I want to start with all of the employees and all the hard workers of Warren County that make our county special of all the other 61 counties in the state. And I'm very proud to have been here and worked with all of you on the Board of Supervisors for the last 7 years. And it's something that I'm going to take with me in my next endeavor. And I can't thank you enough for the work that you do here every single day. It's not always easy, but you know, that's where we are. That's what kind of job we have. So I want to thank you all. Thanks.
And I would say congratulations on your election to the New York State Assembly, and good luck in that endeavor, and give them a hard time down there in Albany.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, let's see. We do on the agenda, we have a presentation of a proclamation for Senator Little. However, Washington County beat us to the draw. So she is, I believe, soon in Washington County, but she will be here. And when she comes, we'll make time for her. So that moves us down to the public hearing on Warren County Local Law Number 2 of 2020. And I would request the clerk to read the notice of the public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Warren, New York is considering the adoption of a proposed local law number 2 for the year 2020 entitled a local law imposing an additional mortgage recording tax in Warren County. Notice is further given that pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Board of Supervisors on December 9, 2020, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Supervisors on December 18, 2020 at 10 a.m. in the Supervisors' rooms at the Warren County Municipal Center, Route 9, Queensbury, New York, at which time and place all persons interested in the matter of such local law number 2 for the year 2020 will be heard concerning same. Note, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused the closure of the Warren County Municipal Center building for the public, this hearing will be held via Zoom video conference. Those wishing to speak during the public hearing must contact the clerk of the board at allen@warrencountiny.gov or at 518-761-7656 to receive an invitation to the meeting. Comments can also be submitted to Amanda Allen, clerk of the board, by email or in writing to 1340 State Route 9, Lake George, New York, 12845, no later than December 17, 2020. A copy of said local law is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website. I have not received any written comments, and I have not gotten a request for anyone to speak.
Okay, thank you. Before I open the public hearing, I would like to say that I think I have what I feel is some good news for the county. After our special meeting, I talked with our county attorney, and we had the idea that seeing how we are under emergency declaration, it might be possible to issue an emergency order to reinstate the additional mortgage tax. After the county attorney did some research and checked with New York State Tax and Finance, it was determined that we could do that. So I did sign emergency order number 6, which gives the county clerk the authority to reinstitute the additional mortgage tax. I do understand that you can't whipsaw, mortgage companies and stuff. They have paperwork, and it will take a little time to get it started again. that to me is up to the county clerk. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that. And with that, I will open the public hearing. Mr. Lehman?
Good morning, Chairman Thomas. There is no comment on YouTube as of now.
Okay. Thank you. Privilege of the floor to the board or anyone in the room. Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, just congratulations to you and the county attorney for investigating this like you did and being proactive. Well done. Well done.
You're here.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone in the room? Nope. At this time then, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And we'll move on to a second public hearing. I will declare this public hearing to be open, and this is on Warren County Local Law number 1 of 2021. And I'll request the clerk to read the notice of the public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Warren, New York is considering the adoption of a proposed local law number 1 for the year 2021, entitled A Local Law Fixing the Salaries of Certain County Officers and Employees of Warren County. Notice is further given that pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Board of Supervisors on November 20, 2020, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Supervisors on December 18, 2020 at 10 a.m. at the Supervisors' Rooms in the Warren County Municipal Center, 1340 State Route 9, Queensbury, New York, at which time and place all persons interested in the matter of such proposed local law number 1 for the year 2021 will be heard concerning same. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, which has caused the closure of the Warren County Municipal Center building to the public, this hearing will be held via Zoom video conference. Those wishing to speak during the public hearing must contact the clerk of the board at allen@warrencountiny.gov to receive an invitation to the meeting. Comments can also be submitted to Amanda Allen, clerk of the board, by email or in writing to 1340 State Route 9, Lake George, New York, 12845, no later than December 17, 2020. Comments can also be made during the meeting through the chat feature of the live video stream offered on Warren County's YouTube page. A copy of said local law is available for inspection during regular business hours by contacting the clerk of the Board of Supervisors at the above stated address and may be viewed on the Warren County website. I have not received any comments or requests to speak on this item.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lehman, is there any comments on YouTube?
Not at this time, Chairman Thomas.
Thank you. Any comments from members of the board? Okay. Not hearing any, I will declare the public hearing on Warren County Local Law number 1 of 2021 closed. Okay, I believe Senator Little is going to join us here momentarily. Senator Little.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good, thank you. Yeah.
Good. Well, it's our honor and privilege to have you here this morning. We've prepared a proclamation on behalf of the Warren County Board of Supervisors. And if you bear with me, I would like to read it to you, if you don't mind.
Oh, thank you.
Proclamation. Whereas Senator Elizabeth Betty Little served on the Warren County Board of Supervisors, representing the town of Queensbury from 1986 through 1995, during which time she chaired several committees, including the airport, extension services, federal programs, mental health, social services, and Westmount Health Facility committees, in addition to serving as budget officer and chairing the budget committee for the years 1990 and 91. And whereas in November of 1995, Senator Little departed from the Board of Supervisors upon becoming duly elected member of the New York State Assembly, where she represented Essex and Warren counties, along with portions of Saratoga and Washington counties, for several years until she was elected to the New York State Senate, taking office in 2003 and representing the residents of the 45th Senate District, which includes Clinton, Essex, Franklin, and Warren counties, as well as portions of St. Lawrence and Washington counties. And whereas during her career, Senator Little built on many legislative successes, including adoption of an initiative which encourages local governments to work cooperatively and share services to save tax dollars, reform of adverse possession law to ensure greater fairness for property owners, a law to restrict the sale, possession, and importation of invasive species, creation of the Adirondack Community Housing Trust, passage of the historic timber theft law, expanding net metering to encourage investment in renewable power production, including solar, wind, and waste energy, and sponsoring legislation and securing funding to help combat Lyme and other tick-borne diseases. And whereas during her years in office, Senator Little sponsored several successful New York State constitutional amendments to help residents, the economy, and the environment in the Adirondacks, demonstrating her continued commitment and devotion to the areas and residents she represents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Warren County Board of Supervisors joins with the residents of Warren County in extending their sincere gratitude and appreciation to Senator Elizabeth Betty Little for immeasurable contributions made through her expertise and leadership, as well as her outstanding public service at both the county and state level, and does wish her a long and happy retirement. And it's on December 18th, 2020. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we do have a framed version. I do wish that you were here in person so that we could present this to you. However, we will get it to you, I assure you. And again, I can't say enough. Thank you for your service. You're really a special person. Thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much. My first elected office was right where you are in the Warren County Board of Supervisors. And that was a great experience. And certainly that when the time came that I was invited to, be a candidate for the assembly, that was exciting too. And so it was from there that I got my support, and I appreciate all of the support, all of the kindness, all of the friendship, especially that I've had with you as board members, and what we have tried to do, and what I hope we have been able to do going forward. That Warren County is a great county, very successful, very fortunate. We have wonderful, wonderful tourism areas. We have the Northway going through us, and that helps our communities as well. But there's always a lot of issues with all of those things, and you've worked really hard. So I'm very proud to be a resident of Warren County, and I appreciate all that you've done. We have a lot of towns, a lot of government, lot of people working hard, not only to improve their own lives, but to improve the lives of their community and the people who live in them. So hats off to all of you, and I thank you very much for your kindness, for your thoughtfulness, and for your friendship, which I hope will continue.
Thank you very much. And Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to all of you. This is certainly an unusual year.
Yes.
One that no one could have anticipated or expected or even thought might ever happen. So difficult time for a lot of people. And I think getting more difficult, for a lot of our businesses who, summer is the time when they really make hay while the sun shines. And that gets them through the winter. So being somewhat limited in the summer, even if they did well, wasn't always as much as they could have done. And it's going to be tough. So hopefully with the vaccine and people beginning to feel more confident and secure in being able to avoid this virus, I'm hopeful. I've been hopeful since March, though, so I continue to hope that this is going to end pretty soon. I know COVID fatigue is becoming almost universal. So
Yes.
I thank all of you for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Let's see, the next item is a report by the chairman of the board. As I think everybody knows, yesterday winter arrived. We went from 0 to 60 in one day. Lots of snow and cold weather. So where I live, we got 12 to 14 inches of snow. Communicating with the people down here, I understood, I realized pretty soon that it was 20, 24 and beyond. So I decided that the best thing to do was to shut down the municipal center. And I want to thank the employees because some did make it in. So I want to thank them for getting here. But today's a much better day. I attended the committee meetings on November 23rd and 24th. Meeting of the LDC through Zoom on 11/25. November 30th, there was an OES committee meeting pertaining to the local law about the fire coordinator. On 12/3, I attended personnel finance and a budget meeting. On 12/2, I met with the sheriff and took a tour of the jail and looked at possible relocation of the CAT court, the arraignment court. On 12/4, we had a meeting about the additional mortgage tax, which led to the December 9th special board meeting. On 12/10, I participated in a NISAC lunch and learn conference call. They have started their conference calls up again, and the majority of that was about COVID and vaccines. On 12/14, this past Monday, I attended about a half hour of the occupancy tax meeting. I apologize, I had to leave for an appointment that I had scheduled for a long time. 12/16, I watched a webinar by the Office of the State Comptroller, and it was about local government impact of the sales tax withholding, and it was about the aid and incentives to municipalities and distressed provider assistance. On February 4th, everyone's sales tax will be deducted their proportionate share to make $50 million. Warren County will lose $326,000. And each quarter thereafter, $81,000 will be deducted. And it goes through 2022 at this time. And lastly, I wrote a thank you letter to the Warren County child care providers. Got the letter to Liza Oschendorf at Employment and Training, and she was going to insert the letter into some gift bags for the child care providers. And that concludes my report. Reports by committee chairman on past month meetings or activities. Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you, Chairman. I know Senator Little's not on anymore, but I did want to express my thanks for all her years of service and for breaking the way as a woman leader, elected representative in our area. She was a great person to look up to. And I also want to wish Mr. Simpson good luck in his new role as our assemblyman. And environmental concerns and real property met on November 24th. I want to thank Supervisor Dickinson for filling in for me that day as I had a prior commitment. We have a few resolutions on for you. One has to do with executing a letter in support of not requiring the seniors to come in to bring their paperwork for their tax exemption. So I hope you'll support that one, 464. And then a couple of resolutions on the Climate Smart Communities Program, 465 and 466. And lastly, I want to give you a quick update on the Mullins building. We hope that it would be coming down this month, but we're having some delays with the National Grid process. So I want to thank Lexi, our real property director, for continuing to push that forward and using some of her connections to help get the log jam undone with National Grid. So we should be seeing that soon, but it's not going to be happening as quickly as we had hoped. And that is my report, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Bruno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Driscoll.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are a couple of resolutions from the Human Service Committee. Resolution 473 is a Countryside Professional Trade Association membership, a renewal of that program that has been shown to save the county and the countryside money, as well as opportunities for training. 474 is an agreement between Department of Social Services and Employment and Training to provide interdepartment referrals. I respectfully request your approval of those two resolutions. This past month, I attended a number of meetings, but I was very happy to also get over to introduce myself to Anne Marie Mason and have a nice chat with her a couple weeks ago. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Supervisor Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met on December 3rd. We had a fairly lengthy agenda, but we moved through it quite quickly. We have resolutions today, number 440, 441, and 499 through 507. Just quickly, 499 deals with appropriating funds to amend the budget. 500 accepting a proposal with Korn Ferry for actuarial services. 501 accepting a proposal and authorizing an agreement with Maximus U.S. Services. And then 503 through 507 are all increasing capital projects. One is on South Johnsburg Road, CR7 over Halfway Creek, County Bridge, East River Drive, and the last one is on Quaker Road. That's all we have for resolutions. I would appreciate your support on those. And with that, I think Mr. Swan is here. Okay, thank you.
Treasurer.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Just a couple quick things. The chairman, you stole a little bit of my thunder with the deductions on our sales tax by the governor for our New York City hospitals. That's something I'm real happy about, but it's life. We got to live with it. Sales tax is still down about 4% roughly. And right now we're gearing up in my office to start closing the books for 2020. And as soon as we get the information from that, I will share it with the board. Anything else? Any questions?
Any questions for the treasurer?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swan. I've appreciated your help throughout this year.
Thank you.
And I just want to say happy holidays to all of you, and that's my report.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Happy holidays to everyone, and have a good New Year.
You too. Thank you. Supervisor Simpson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel Administration met on December 3rd, and we actually have quite a few resolutions, 490 through 498. And I'll just bring your attention to 497, which I would ask for everyone's support for. It was authorizing submission of a grant application to the New York State Housing Trust Fund Corporation Office of Community Renewal for funding under the Main Street program. These programs are very important and critical to our communities. And with that, I really don't have anything else to report. Okay. And I just want to wish everyone and their families a Merry Christmas and a healthy New Year. And, healthy New York, yeah, it is. So, thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cornell Cooperative Extension and 4-H are going to start out 2021 strong with a Supporting Healthy Families program for parents and caregivers in Warren and Essex counties. This program is based on Cornell University's Discipline is Not a Dirty Word and the Parenting Skills Workshop series. They're also offering anti-inflammatory diet webinars, and 4-H Adirondack Guides will be holding an orientation in January as well. More information is available on their website. And they've actually been engaged in a really cool collaboration that I wanted to tell everybody about. A group of civic ecology students at Cornell University, led by Dr. Marianne Krasny, have been collaborating with local community partner CCE of Warren County on a plant-rich diet project. They spent the semester working with a resource educator out of our CCE to create a series of infographics and recipes that can be used to help promote the ecological and health benefits of a plant-rich diet. They used the inspiration of the Tops Market's weekly sales flyers as the basis for several recipes, and included lots of shelf-stable ingredients as well. So I just want to point that out as a real success and collaboration for our CCE, an important bit of education that they're putting out into the community. I also want to wish you all a happy new year. Like me, I'm sure you're going to be so grateful to see 2020 in your rearview mirror. And I just know that 2021 is going to be better. Thank you.
Thank you. And Cooperative Extension is a really special organization, and they really do a lot of great things. And I'm glad to see them thrive. Thank you. Supervisor Dickinson. I think you're muted, Dennis.
Let's keep it that way.
I'll figure this out eventually.
That's Doug Beatty getting back at you.
Okay, I'll start again. On the 14th of December, we went on an hour and a half after Frank left for a 2-hour meeting. We did pass a resolution to support an effort by the business coalition in the Lake George region to have winter activities for the month of February. As you all know by now, after 50-some years, the Winter Carnival in Lake George is not going to operate this winter. They all their events are not COVID applicable. So this committee, formed of individuals and put together a lot of events. They've been talking with Ryan, making sure that these events are COVID acceptable. And we're really looking forward to it. They've got some really interesting things going on, and we're hoping that they're very successful. So we did grant them some OCTAX money to advertise that and get it off the ground, and hopefully it will be successful. And that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Wild,
Scott was on.
is he?
Yeah, he was on. I was there. There he is.
Okay. Supervisor Shaw?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No committee report this month.
Thank you. Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. There were many meetings this month, if not from the Economic Growth and Development Committee to the Economic Recovery Task Force, to the Hospitality Group, and to the Industrial Development Agency. It seems like it was every other day, if not more, that I was having meetings. There's two resolutions in front of you today from the Economic Growth and Development. It's 462, 463. The first one is basically e-learning, electronic learning, online training aids to support our workforce and workforce development. And the second, 463, is an agreement between Warren County Planning Department and the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board for support with grant programs and other activities. While I have the floor, and what's typical in business is basically to do an end of year report. And what I wanted to do, and since there's uncertainty about who may be leading us in the future and how the committee structure might be set, I just thought I would do a shout out to the Economic Recovery Task Force and just remind everybody where we started, what we've done, how we got there. And this truly is a collaboration between public and private. One of the most refreshing pieces of it is that there's no agenda. There's individual business leaders who are not looking to improve their own business, but they realize that they improve the general economy, their business will be better also. And I commend them for working really hard in making things happen. We started with a pandemic. That's what caused it. And what we did is focus on how do we get open. And maybe we don't realize this, but this business community came together with operational guidelines that they share with other businesses in our region to help get us open and influence the governor to help us get open. And that was a big thing that our business community did. And we worked with Administrator Moore and the insights in terms of what we're hearing from the governor's office and the opportunity to open. Once we did get open, the idea was, how do we stay open? And there was a big push on masks. There was also the idea that when we went out and marketed Lake George in the Lake George region and Warren County to areas like we normally do for tourism, that what we centered on was that Warren County was a safe place. And that resonated. And we did have a pretty decent year from a tourism standpoint, especially when you consider the fact that the tourism advertising budget was reduced by 50%. One of the reasons that we were so successful because there was collaboration. So what the private sector was doing on their advertising leveraged what we were doing from a county perspective on advertising. And we were more nimble in terms of looking for opportunities in regions from which we could really focus on. Going from there, the task force is really focused on, primarily from a tourism standpoint, what's next? There's a strategy. How do we get ourselves to a four-season economy if that's really what we want? And how do we do that? We do that by studying the competition, and they're looking at increasing our use and understanding of the data that we have and the more data that we might like to have. So this is just a heads up to this board and to the business community that we're trying to move forward towards a four-season economy, and we'd like to have the engagement of as many people as possible to make that happen. So that overview, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman and the board, I'm going to just take a couple more minutes because there's just a couple of other things I'd like to make you aware of. City of Adirondack was just fortunate to receive a $75,000 grant. I think it was 75,000 with 75 people that we're going to be able to support with basic IT training to help individuals get into entry-level IT jobs. And that was a good score. We were able to make some money, and that's going to help our economy. But the second part is probably more troubling because there's a underlying threat to the tourism economy. And what's happening here is that there's an erosion of our lodging. There are properties, lakefront properties, that have lodging for our visitors that are being sold and converted to residential properties. And we think about that and we say maybe we lose one or two, it's not a big deal, but its cumulative effect could ultimately mean that we lose thousands of visitors a year to our region to support tourism. They won't have a place to stay. So what does that mean to us? Tourism is basically 25% of our economy. Tourism, based on the 2019 economic report of tourism from New York State, is identified to bring about $3,000 of benefit to each household in Warren County. That's a lot of money. If we lost our tourism industry to be able to make up the budget that we do to support our residents, would have to be made up on the backs of our citizens and our constituents. So one of the things that we're looking at is what can we do? What should we do? And how might we be able to do that? And also part of the task force, and we're looking at that right now, but there were two individuals that recently joined in support from Dr. Duffy at SUNY Adirondack. I'm not sure if you know them, Chandler Atkins, Kelly Hatton, both professors in the business area of SUNY Adirondack. They're helping us look at case studies. What happened in Montauk? What happened in other regions of the country and in the state that had this erosion of their lodging? And what did it do to their local economies? And some organizations in some counties and some states have been able to slow that or stop it. So we're looking at how to make that happen. And of course, it's going to take everyone on the board to help support that. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry if I took a lot of your time and the board's time, but I thought this was important to kind of review briefly. I could go on for hours, but I will yield the floor back. Thank you very much and happy holidays to all.
Thank you. I want to echo what you're saying. I feel you've done a very good job along with the business people through a very difficult time. And I do thank you for that. And, I think going forward, I think the main thing is to keep this coalition together and talking to each other and working together. And I thank you for that. Thank you. Supervisor McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're at the 23rd and 24th committee meetings, just about all the committee meetings this past month. And I have one on the resolution there. It's 489 from the county clerk to the, just had it here, for adopting the revised New York State retention and disposition schedule for the county and government records. Well, Pam put it out, I believe, well, she was here. But that's all right. It's kind of a thing that we need the state came up with and disposing of what we're going to do with our records. And it's kind of a law that we have to follow. So it was more or less some house cleaning and really more informational. So I hope that we can get some support from that. I have something that I really want to discuss on also some committee that I should have been in some other meetings this month, especially on December 4th, I believe, being the chairman of support services. When we found out about the mortgage tax, I was never informed being a chairman, and I would asking Frank for really an explanation of why I wasn't called, being the chairman of that committee, to come in. I believe Kevin Garrity was called all the way up from Warrensburg to come down, and but yet the chairman of that committee was not. So I'm asking to see why I wasn't involved in any of these decisions. And then thankfully, you and Mary and who else came up with the resolution to reinstate it as quickly as possible. But once again, a week and a half later, there is a chairman that has really gone out and has worked hard to get the respect of the taxpayers and the constituents of Queensbury and representing the whole county. And I don't feel I'm getting the correct respect that I need from the board here. So can you answer that for me, please? Because I did ask a question, and you're the only one that I haven't heard from.
Okay, it was not an intentional oversight. I'll take full responsibility for not communicating with you, and I guess that's my explanation.
Well, I was hoping for a little bit more than that because it's very hurtful. Coming in and working so hard to be at this seat and be a representative and looking up, I look up to leadership and I need communication and the respect should come with it. But I really feel that teamwork is something that we need to work for. And with that teamwork comes some communications. And, I feel very let down for working so hard to be here and not get that respect that I think I deserve. And being, especially in some, really major decision making policies, especially after being chosen to be a chairman. Thank you.
Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On December 18th, as your representative with NACO, there was a call that talked about the National Commission on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice. I sent that information on today to those of you involved with that aspect in the county. But I did want to highlight that there was a National Committee on COVID-19 and Criminal Justice that was established in July of 2020. And they've asked that we just continue to make our community aware of the efforts that are going on at that national level to talk about a way to reduce the type of exposure, but also above and beyond that, there'll be a presentation that they will have that will address the national aspect of that, integrating different ways to prepare, rebalancing public health and public safety. And I think it ties in nicely to Supervisor Wild's comments about a public and private partnership and how important those partnerships are, both in tourism, hospitality, economic growth. But we also see that in criminal justice and public safety. For example, Resolution 457 talks about an agreement with the probation department working with Warren and Hamilton County's Action for Committee for Economic Opportunity for alternative sentencing programs. Resolution 456 in your packet today talks about a plan with assigned counsel that we've updated. 458 talks about our agreement with Waite House for independent living services that are in front of you through the probation department. And once again, we see our probation department in 459 working with Big Brothers, Big Sisters to address issues with our youth through their department as well. Lastly, you have resolutions 460 and 461, both of which talk about the public defender's office and the need to continue to move forward with the agreements that we have been able to secure largely with grant funding through the state. So those are the resolutions from criminal justice in front of you. We met on November 23rd. Of course, there were various other meetings, but I appreciate all the efforts that went into that and wish everyone a very happy holiday. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Supervisor Beatty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's no resolutions from county facilities this month. I would like to say that Joanne and her tourist department have done a phenomenal job in maintaining the amount of tourism dollars coming into the county. They've been very, very proactive and they've done a phenomenal job. And I'd also like to say that I feel rather sad for Mr. McGowan when common courtesy is not extended to a chairman of the committee. The actions were not acceptable. Leaving out a chairman on key key issues and going basically around his back and behind his back. So I concur with Mr. McGowan. It was a sad day when people start taking situations in their own hand and taking the elected officials out of the sequence. Finally, I'd like to wish everybody a happy holiday season, Merry Christmas. Congratulations, Matt. You're going to do a great job in the assembly. Betty's long gone, but not in our hearts and in our minds. She's long gone on this Zoom call, but that's about it. So that's all my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Shetler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While I have no committee reports, I was in attendance at Monday's committee for the occupancy tax. And in regards to resolution number 523, which is before us today, I would like to make a motion to table this until further information can be available. I have a great deal of concern. While Warren County is safe at this point in time, they're looking at pulling folks up from zip codes that are not safe. And it's a huge concern. New York City, Westchester County, Rockland County, Dutchess County are all having some very difficult times with the COVID. We've also experienced here in the North Country an uptick. And my concern is, will restaurants and lodging be available to these folks in February? And I also had a concern in regards to one of the events that was planned for this upcoming event that was not even considered acceptable at this point in time. While I do think it's a good idea, and I would like to see it perhaps go forward in the year 2022, I think in 2021, I think we need to put the brakes on and think about what we're doing here. It's not about the almighty dollar. It's about the people and the residents of Warren County. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll, when we get to resolutions and discussion, we'll bring, recognize you again. Supervisor Garrity.
The Budget Committee met on December 3rd. In your packet are resolutions 442 through 455. I ask that you support the agreements with these various organizations. I too would like to congratulate Senator Little. She could be a tough negotiator at times, but she did deliver very well to our district. Supervisor Simpson, I am going to miss him. We had some 2 good trips to DC, and we learned a lot about the city and government. I thought they were very entertaining. Although, you know, Matt and I are somewhat friends. Sometimes we disagree, but he's done a very good job coming in here. I learned a lot from him. And being a businessman, he brought a wise acknowledgement to our board of supervisors. So we are going to miss Matt. Also, I'd like to thank Assemblyman Steck for getting involved with the mortgage tax law. I know the county attorney worked with Supervisor Steck's office, not supervisor, but Assemblyman Steck's office to get that passed through the legislature, or at least through taxation and finance. So we owe a debt of gratitude for Dan and his staff, and Deb Capizzuti for getting involved in that. Also, I'd like to thank Congresswoman Stefanik. She worked in a bipartisan way to see that a big chunk of money was delivered to New York State through the broadband stipend is coming. I think that is going to help. I know there is a lot of communities listed in Warren, Washington, and in the area that hopefully will see some funding to improve the broadband in our area. So, you know, they keep working for us. I think it's important that everybody keeps working for us on the state and federal level. And also, I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays. That's it.
Thank you. Supervisor Conover.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Works met on November 24 and then again on December 14. Our work is represented in your packet by resolutions 479 through 488 and 524 and through 526. The 479 resolution deals with a large Marchicelli project on Quaker Road. 480 is consultant services to assist with that project. 481 through 484 are snowmobile agreements. 485 is a grant from the Wood Foundation for Up Beyond the Farm for $5,000. And I think I've already spoken to Amanda about that. We should absolutely send a letter of thank you to the Wood Foundation. 486 is a renewal of our agreement with Revolution Rail for 2021 for $35,000. 487 is a resolution to award for the disposal of medical waste to Advo Waste. 488 is an award to County Waste and Recycling Services for the disposal of county waste. 524 is a waiving of the rules. The chairman will deal with that under reading of resolutions to allow 525, which is an award of transportation services for disposal of waste county, at the towns. And 526 is the award for the actual disposal of the waste, the dumping of the waste. And I just want to say, I'd like to thank Julie Butler, especially in her department, for putting all of this together as they do every year. They do a phenomenal job. You can imagine with, a dozen towns, how complicated this gets, the different transportation distances and the different services that are involved here. The one thing that the suggestion was made, because now we're seeing significant changes in the cost of providing these services, is that next year we're going to try to get this contract done a little sooner so that the towns can have numbers for their budgeting purposes. The good news is if we get it earlier, that we would have those exact numbers for our budgeting. The bad news is that perhaps the numbers might not be as good because the haulers may have to anticipate more what their dumping charges are going to be in the following year. But we'll give it a go and try to be accommodating in that regard. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Liggett.
Thank you, Chairman Thomas. Public Safety met on November 23rd for the regular meeting. Also met on December 9th for the special meeting regarding the amendment of local law number 5 of 2009. Before you, there are 4 resolutions, number 475 through 478. All are in regards to authorizing agreements with various vendors. 2 are for the Office of Emergency Services, 2 are for the Sheriff's Office. All have gone through the purchasing and procurement process. Also is resolution number 521 from the Office of Emergency Services. It's regarding the amendment of local law number 5 of 2009, which was establishing the Office of Emergency Services. It sets the public hearing for our next Board of Supervisors meeting on January 15th. The proposed amendment to the local law is attached to Resolution 521. I ask for your support on all of these measures. Also, as Vice Chairman of the IDA, I have met in multiple meetings in the past month with them. We have several projects in the works. Attended the Adirondack Association of Towns and Villages annual meeting on December 7th and attended the Soil Water Conservation District's meeting in November. And also tuned into the Adirondack Park Agency monthly meeting last week. It was good to see our Supervisor Hogan sitting on the board of the APA. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor McDevitt.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Next item we have is a report by County Administrator. Administrator Moore.
Good
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay in the boardroom?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to congratulate first and foremost Brian LaFleur for being a great leader for our emergency services department over the time that he's been with us. And we're very happy to continue to have him to help us along with the transition in that department. Congratulations, Brian. Thanks especially for all you've done during the COVID pandemic. You've been absolutely indispensable to this county, and we're all proud of you. Congratulations, Supervisor Simpson, Assemblyman-elect. I can't wait to start working with you on issues involving Albany, and we're going to start right away with the state budget. So I'm here to help you, and I know you're here to help us, so I look forward to all of the work that we're going to do together in Albany. And congratulations, of course, to Senator Little. She has been such an advocate for this region and for this county, and always a pleasant person to deal with. I've known Betty for probably 20 years, and I've always said she's my favorite state legislator. She is just a great person all around, and we're going to miss her a lot. Congratulations on 30 years with Warren County to Anne Marie Corcoran from the county clerk's office. Very tremendous accomplishment there, 30 years. And 20 years for Shelley Thompson from Countryside Adult Home. Thank you to all of the staff, for that matter, at Countryside for doing such a great job this year to protect all of those residents during a very difficult time. I just wanted to touch briefly on the statistic that's being used. It's been used and continues to be used for the yellow zone designation, and that's the 7-day rolling average % positive statistic. And I just wanted to make sure to take a couple of minutes to put this into context, just so everybody understands where Warren County is at with this statistic. So you have to be 10 days over 3% on this particular metric in order to qualify for a yellow zone. And in addition to there are other stats you have to meet with hospitalization. Warren County is under that 3%. There's only 3 counties in the state that are under that. Manhattan is at 2.8%. That's because they did 20,800 tests yesterday, for example. That compares to, I think, 493 tests for Warren County. When you do more testing, your percentage is going to be lower, of course, because the denominator is bigger. Tompkins County is the other one. They're at 0.5. They did over 3,000 tests yesterday. They have, I don't know what it is that they're doing down there, but they're doing a tremendous amount of tests. That's a county of 101,000 people, and to do 3,000 tests a day is that's why they have such a low percentage. But every region in the state is above 3 except for the southern tier. The reason is the southern tier is pulled down because of what Tompkins County is doing. But the other 7 counties in the southern tier are all well above the 3%. Statewide, 5.2%. Central New York, 7.0. The Finger Lakes, 8.3. Long Island, 6.0. Hudson Valley, 6.1. Mohawk Valley, 8.0. New York City, 4.2. The North Country is 4.5. Western New York is 6.6. The Capital Region, which we're in, is 6.3. And let me break down the counties within the Capital Region. Albany, 6.9. Columbia, 4.2. Greene, 4.4. Rensselaer, 5.8. Saratoga, 6.6. Schenectady, 8.0. Washington, 4.1. And Warren, 2.8. 2.8 compared to all of those numbers. Washington County, to be fair to them, they have a state prison there, and their numbers get pulled up because of that, which is not fair to their contact tracing effort and everything that they're doing, because they are doing a very good job and they're good partners to work with. We thank them for that. And as you know, these things can change if you have a bad day. I want to point out that Clinton County is at 3.1, Essex is at 3.1. Hamilton's at 3.8, Delaware 3.7, and Schuyler 1. So this is in no way meant to disparage what any of the other counties are. Everybody's doing the best that they can with a difficult situation. But I just want to highlight that 2.8, and we've been under 3 for some time. I think there were only a couple of days that we were over, and we got it back under control. That's a credit to everybody in this county, the business community, average everyday people this seriously and taking measures to protect themselves and their families. It's a credit to the Board of Supervisors for supporting the Public Health Department the way that you have. You've been stalwart supporters from the get-go as to the public health effort that we've been undertaking. and it's certainly a credit to our public health department. I think that their effort has been inspirational, and no matter how hard this gets, they just refuse to give up. They refuse to get beaten on this issue. They are working so hard around the clock, 7 days a week. I'm very proud of them, and I know that our county is as well. Thank you to them. Thank you to everybody that's played a part in our success on COVID, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you. Report by County Attorney.
I have no report, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is reading of communications.
We've received the report of criminal and family workloads for October 2020 from the Warren County Probation Department. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Court financial reports dated July 31, 2020 and August 31, 2020. Capital District Regional Off-Track Betting Court October 2020 payment in the amount of $2,834, and confirmation from the New York State Parks of Recreation and Historic Preservation that the Hague Baptist Church has been listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
That was all? Okay, thank you very much. Next, you have reading of resolutions.
Resolution numbers 440 through 521 were distributed to the members of Board of Supervisors and posted to the Warren County website on December 10th. Resolution number 514 was amended after mailing and was distributed to the board and posted to the website on December 16th. A motion is needed to approve the amendments to resolution number 514 as provided.
Someone care to move that? Moved by Supervisor Simpson, seconded by Supervisor Scheffler. On the amendment to 514. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution numbers 523 and 525 through 526 were produced pursuant to action taken at the December 14th Occupancy Tax Coordination and Public Works Committee meeting. They were distributed to the Board of Supervisors and posted to the Warren County website on December 16th. As this did not meet the mailing deadline specified in the rules of the board, a waiving of the rules will be required to bring these resolutions to the floor.
Okay, and to get resolution 523 on the floor for this consideration, we will need to waive the rules. Motion made by Supervisor Wild.
Right.
Seconded by Supervisor Dickinson. Call the question.
Frank, I have some discussion, please.
Okay.
This is somebody help me out here. I know the group hired for these events hired Christian to help with us and make the presentation. The resolution says the money is going to Americaid, which is Christian's business. Is that indeed what it's going to? It's going to Americaid for the winter events? Mary, do you know the answer to that?
The answer to that.
That was what was on the resolution request form. If it's any different, I wouldn't know that.
Oh, so it was on the resolution report form, or was it on the application?
I only get the resolution request, and that's what it was on.
Okay, is Lisa on board here by any chance? No. I don't know if that's an issue or not, but secondly, and I'm not surprised if that's what they did do. They obviously need somebody to take care of the money, and certainly Christian and his organization are well versed in doing that. But my second point is to Supervisor Scheffler. The whole point of this organization was to set up winter events that were COVID safe. That was the whole point. And they've gone to some great extremes to make sure that the events that they have penciled in are COVID safe. They have additional events that they haven't solidified yet, but they will press on with those in respect to what they need to do for the COVID epidemic. And that's what the rules are for. If you follow those, you should be allowed to do it. If you're a restaurant and you follow the rules, you're still open. If you don't follow the rules, it's a different story. So I encourage everybody to support this resolution and give this organization a chance to see what they can do.
The tourism director, Joanne Connolly, is here, and she can probably answer your question.
Oh, great. Thanks, Joanne. Do you know what the question is, or you want me to ask it again?
No, is the agreement with Americaid or other? That was your question, wasn't it?
Correct.
I have been on the phone calls with the group that's organizing this winter festival, and they are hiring an event coordinator, as
right.
All of the people that are on the committee are business people themselves. So they are hiring Christian Dutcher, hence the name Americaid.
So I was right. He's handling the money for him. Okay, great.
Correct.
Thank you, Joanne. I appreciate it.
Now, the question on the floor is the waiving of the rules. I think that probably was a little relevant as far as someone's vote. However, that's the question that's before us, and I'm going to call that question. All in favor of waiving the rules to get 523 on the floor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Could you raise your hands, please? 1, 2, 3. I see 3.
May I ask a question just for clarification?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I understand Supervisor Scheffler's request to table. My only request would be, is there a way to have a brief discussion prior to that motion? Otherwise, I would oppose the table, or I would oppose this resolution right now. But if I know we'll have a chance just to talk about it briefly.
Okay, well, the question did pass, so the resolution is on the floor, so you would like to discuss it?
If you wouldn't mind, thank you.
This is resolution 523.
Yes. I think there's validity to Supervisor Scheffler's question and request to have more information. And I'm always a supporter of wanting more information. And in this case, when we talked about this at occupancy tax, I still think it's an incredible idea. I think the regional approach is so important to our community. And as stated then, I think it's very critical that we do it safely. One of the things that I've asked to see, and I'm not sure if it just didn't make its way out of committee, was the COVID safety protocols. I know, like with our Festival of Lights event that took place recently, she filed a very, very lengthy COVID safe plan with the county administrator. So I think there is merit and there's certainly time before this occurs to talk a little bit more about that COVID plan in a committee meeting, which could certainly be called. So I was hopeful if our county administrator could please send out to the Board of Supervisors that COVID safe plan for us to review. But I also believe there were questions that were asked about legalities in reimbursing costs versus paying them up front that we were waiting on some answers for as well. So to the extent that we would be able to set a committee meeting in a time frame that still would work for everyone as they're planning these events and to get more information, I would certainly support Supervisor Scheffler's decision to have it go back to committee for some answers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion on 523.
She asked a question to Ryan. Is he going to respond?
Mr. Moore?
I don't have a safety plan yet. I don't know that they've created one yet. The conversations that we've had are, here's the guidelines that apply to this activity. Here are the guidelines that apply to that activity. So when they do create that safety plan and pass it on to me, I'd be happy to get that out to whomever on the board wants to see it. And I do think that our businesses here obviously have experience meeting these guidelines. The question in my mind is whether or not the guidelines change prior to the commencement of this event. So that's a moving target, and we'll keep our eye on it each day.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support Supervisor Shepler's initiative and Supervisor Sieber in moving this back to committee for further discussion. I'm not opposed to these activities in any way, shape, or form, but I have a tale to tell from this week up here that might inform this conversation a little bit. I don't think anybody would dispute that skiing is probably one of the safest activities that can be undertaken currently. You're bundled from head to toe, you're spread out on a mountain. Gore recently had to shut down their ticket sales. Ski mountains have had to reduce their capacity on the trails by 25%. So until we got the snow, there wasn't a lot of terrain open. They sold an unbelievable number of season passes. And so they had to shut down ticket sales to outside purchase. It gutted our lodging industry when they did that. And then less than 24 hours later, they turned around and decided to reopen limited ticket sales. It's an example of a large industry trying to respond to the changing circumstances that we're living under. Again, I support these activities, but I think we need to discuss further how they're gonna monitor them safely. I don't believe that a single safety plan for the entire event is adequate. I think that each vendor needs to follow the same rules that every other business in Warren County follows and file individual safety plans. I didn't really feel that I received a great response from the organizers on how they were going to enforce the safety rules being followed. And I'm already hearing from Gore that they're getting a lot of pushback on mask wearing inside the lodge and around the lodge. I haven't had a chance to dive into it with them why that is, but I just feel like we need more information before throwing $40,000 at this. And I understand that the $40,000 is there. It's not the money. It's moving forward on shifting sands. And I just think we need to talk about it more. So I support moving it back to committee. Thank you.
Chairman.
Supervisor Bramer, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate you calling on me. I just want to say that I'm in support of Supervisor Shepler's concerns, because if we recall last winter, we were asking visitors not to come. There was a period of time where we said, please stay at home, and we're not out of the COVID problems yet. So I do want to say that I support her concerns about people coming here, even though they are for COVID safe events. They are still, like was mentioned, they will go to restaurants, they will go to our gas stations, they will go to the grocery store. So they're, going to be coming here and being in our community. I want to make sure that we're really thinking this through. And it is not about the money. I think we have the money there for this one, although I'm not entirely sure about that. But I do want to make sure that there is some language in the agreement that says, that some of these expenses would not be, that the money would not be given to them if the events don't go forward. So not a full reimbursement of all of the $40,000. And I'm not even sure it's a reimbursement. I think that we're talking about giving it to them up front. So I understand maybe if they're expending money out of pocket, we should give them the money for that. But if there are other administrative costs that don't actually get incurred, let's make sure that the county's money is protected there. So I would also like to see it go back to committee. I think that it's a big undertaking, and it was kind of rushed. I mean, I don't think Christian had all the details at the last meeting, so I don't think it hurts us to go back and have some more info. Thank you.
Chairman. Supervisor Garrity, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I voted for it. My concerns are about the spread of COVID. I think Supervisor Scheffler is spot on that. You know, it is a concern. It's been a concern for all of us who have had events canceled in our community. I will look back at it, another look through, as long as I don't think we're going to impact it. It's not till February. I know they'll have a whole month and a half to get some advertising done, but certainly the only reason I voted for it is because the onus is on the event organizers to do it correctly. And if we have concerns about that, then we shouldn't allow it to go forward.
Thank you. Any other discussion on, yes, Supervisor?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. These are all valid points. I think one of the things that we need to consider is this is a new and different event that can expand our inventory of attractions to the area. As far as the safety piece, we've made it through the summer. And our business community and our citizens, as Administrator Moore mentioned, were a big part in that. And yes, we had challenges with wearing a mask, and we addressed that. And the compliance was amazing, considering the political attitudes that we had in the country. We did well, and a big part of that is based on our business leaders. Now, there's a timing issue. We have an individual event planner. Christian has offered to take this lead. An event like this normally takes about 6 months to plan. We have basically 6 weeks. So I think we need to be specific about what our ask is. Is it about safety plans? Well, we can make that a requirement. We can make a modification to the resolution that every business that's participating in this has to have a filed safety plan. If it's about money, then we should talk about specifically exactly what we need so that we can move forward and allow Christian to move forward with making this event happen if we decide to make that happen. But we need to send a message, a clear message in terms of what we want. Every time we get together in an occupancy tax meeting, it goes sideways in 5 minutes. So let's be clear, let's be supportive of what the business community is trying to do. We lost an event that normally brings in substantial amount of visitors and revenue to the county. We're trying to replace it with something else that's COVID safe. And my suggestion is let's move forward. Let's place our needs, specifically our needs and wants on this, but move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Any other discussion?
Frank,
just a second, Dennis. I'm trying to follow our rules. Is there any other comments from any other Supervisor Liggett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this issue, and I'm sorry that I missed that occupancy tax meeting to hear all of the discussion, but I would think that safety plans could be incorporated into part of the funding requirements, and the idea about reimbursements and all of that could be also incorporated into the contract in a form that's acceptable to the attorney. We've given the short period of time that we have to organize such an event to replace the Winter Carnival. I would not favor tabling this motion, but would support the passage of it so that the planners could get on board and get all the necessary items in place in time for this to be a successful event for this winter.
Any other comments? Okay. Supervisor Dickinson, I'll let you.
My apologies. They got me excited here. I don't know where to start, but I'm going to start and see what I can do here. These are business people in the Lake George area that have gotten together trying to fill the.
I think we lost you, Dennis.
Over the time.
Mr. Chairman, maybe we move on and give another chance.
Yeah. Anyone else would like Supervisor Bruno?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to echo my support for Supervisor Wild and Leggett, their assessment of this. I think it's a great thing. It's a great initiative. And as Supervisor Wild stated, normally something of this nature takes months to plan. I give these people a lot of credit for stepping forward, and I think we need to support them in their efforts to plan this. Now, with respect to all these rules,
Jesus.
You know, you talk about face mask, and I have no problem wearing them. If that's what I'm supposed to do, I do. But can you show me where is there a standard for face masks? I see people running around with what amounts to a handkerchief over their face, and that qualifies. People would go, oh yeah, great. Whereas you get other face masks that are maybe 2 and 3 layers, which probably have a greater efficacy. I just get tired, maybe I'm COVID tired. You take a look at the people that are making these declarations. I'm not talking about people on this board, I mean higher ups. What are they doing in New York City? Shutting down bars and restaurants when it was proven factually that the spread of COVID from those entities is like 1.4%. Studies show the spread is primarily from households, gatherings, etc. So when you start citing all the, chapter and verse of all these arbitrary and capricious rules, it really bothers me, as you can tell. So I fully support this. I'm not against investigating the rules. And again, I agree. I think it was Supervisor Wild. You can require these vendors, if you will, to provide a safety plan. And if you have guidelines for what qualifies as an acceptable safety plan, you compare them. If they meet the metrics, then you move on. Your safety plan is good. If not, you have you're not allowed to participate. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Frank.
Dennis, are you back?
Apparently I dropped off the face of the earth there. I don't know where I was in my diatribe, but the point is that the people that are involved here are business people, and they all have businesses in Lake George, and they're all COVID conscious. They've run excellent businesses, and they play by the rules. They come in and told you they have some events. They come in and told you that the main concern was that events be COVID safe. And that's what they intend to do. They don't have all the events flushed out yet. We're working on them. But they will come in, and each and every event will have a safety plan. There'll be an approved plan before they go ahead with these events. The $40,000, a lot of that money is upfront advertising. We need to start advertising now if you want to get them in here by February. So that's what the money's for. And we've always allowed people to do that. I don't understand what all the pomp and circumstances is. I think we should go ahead with this and give them a chance. I mean, Mike, your points were taken very well. Mike's over here trying to get the business community going, and the business people have come in and proposed this thing to you guys. And I don't think it's necessary. I think we need to let them proceed. They'll come in as they get these plans flushed out and make presentations and show us that they're COVID safe before this thing ever comes off. They don't have much time to do that.
Supervisor Conover, did I see you waving your hand earlier?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. We moved hundreds of thousands of people through our communities here in Lake George this summer. Our business community did a spectacular job in their operations during the virus, and they deserve, every one of them deserves a real kudo for what they did. The communities also had strong programs, and the goal of which was to get through the virus and come through this with better than we could, to be as good as we could. And the numbers demonstrate that. The numbers that we had through the summer show that everyone just did a terrific job, And now the business community that did such a spectacular job this summer and this fall, and actually in the spring, wants to initiate an event in February and try to apply the same rules and to try to keep their businesses and people coming to our area and to keep our economy going. I'm confident that our business community, the business community is well aware of the virus. I mean, our restaurateurs understood if one of their employees gets sick, they lose everybody for 14 days. They have to close their business for 14 days. No one understands the importance of being safe more than our business community. Now, is it always perfect? No, but I think they genuinely tried to apply the rules and the laws that exist. Now, is it possible there might be someone that doesn't care about the rules? Well, of course, that's always the case. So, we moved a lot of people through Bolton Landing this summer, let me tell you. We had one of the busiest years we have ever had. We have businesses that did more business this year than they did in the last 2 years. And the last 2 years were spectacular years in terms of business and weather. So, I mean, I think that our business community is asking for an opportunity to try to do something in February. And frankly, I think we should support them in that. And I think that we can do a number of things concurrently here, not the least of which is to make sure that their business plan relative to the virus is submitted to Ryan, that he reviews it to make sure that it's compliant. Now, there are some people on the board, perhaps, where that's not good enough. The standards that exist are not good enough. They want a higher standard than that. And if that's their position, then I guess that they'll vote for a table or they'll vote against a resolution. But I say if our business community is going to be compliant with existing standards, that we give them the opportunity to continue to operate. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Hogan and Supervisor Shuffler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Y'all are getting really cranked up here. And I just want to point out we're having two different conversations. Concern for safety is not in any way to be interpreted as opposition to this event. The event is a great idea, and I, for one, support it. However, my questions have been the same, they've been consistent, and they've been clear. I want to know if these vendors are going to be held to the same standards that every other business in Warren County is held to, and whether they will be filing safety plans, who will be in charge of compiling those, reviewing those, and who will be in charge of enforcement should the safety plans not be followed. Those are my questions. They have been from the start. Second, should the event, I'm not done. Should the event continue to go forward, but our situation change, i.e. we get thrown into a yellow zone, there's a statewide shutdown, what metrics are we going to use to determine whether we make this payout or whether we don't? That's all I'm asking. So please stop misconstruing concern for safety and opposition to the event. They're two separate conversations.
Thank you. Supervisor Sharplin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Supervisor Hogan. That was very well put. In response to Supervisor Wild and Supervisor Bruno, yes, these events normally do take 6 months to mature and develop and to make them work. You're absolutely right. They've been given approximately 6 weeks to do this. That is my concern in regards to the safety aspect of this whole event. I do not disagree that this is something that should go on. I am concerned about the safety aspect of it purely. Can we pull this off in such a short period of time? Is it realistic? What happens if we do go into a yellow zone or we have to shut down? Then how are we going to go forward? I would just like to go and ask for this to be a roll call, if you would, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
You would like a roll call on 523?
Yes, please.
Supervisor Wild and Supervisor Seaver.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
On 523.
On 523, I have a question and possibly a motion to revise. And it has to do with, actually, two questions. The safety plan is something that has been put together by our business community and the state guidelines. The question is to our Administrator Moore, would our Department of Health review these safety plans? Would we review these safety plans? No, it's primarily up to the business. And that's the way it's worked in the past. Right. So there's a concern about compliance and the like, and I'm not sure how we address that to satisfy all the concerns. But part of the motion will be to ensure that there are safety plans that are filed based on the state guidelines. The second is the financial piece. I was in the occupancy tax meeting. Maybe this is Dennis, you were involved with that. If we said something to the effect of it's $40,000 that we're providing, but we'll do $20,000 to cover the advertising and some of the upfront costs. And from my understanding, there was $19,000 that was kind of a budgetary number to help with the attractions and the incentives to come up here. Is that something you think Christian and the group would work with? And I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm addressing an individual supervisor, but Dennis, do you think that would work?
I don't think the business people have any problem if you want to step the payments. I don't think they have any problem with it at all. If they have the money they can use to advertise, and then when they get to phase 2 and they get that done, they get the money for that. That's not a problem.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'd like to create a motion unless Supervisor Seaver has some more comment on this. Well, I could yield the floor to her if I could come back and make my motion.
All right, I'm not sure I fully understand your motion. I understand the safety plan part.
Well, the motion is going to be revised in this resolution to include a requirement. I'm sorry?
I understand that.
Okay. To include the safety plan and to change the distribution to $20,000 up front, phase 1, and phase 2, if it proceeds, and there's no issue with the yellow zone being shut down and the event happens, then the next distribution is released. Okay. And I hope that satisfies as best we can all the requirements that everybody has mentioned. So that is a motion.
Okay. I will let Supervisor Seaver speak. It's you requested.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Wild, I think that the motion that you're making is a sound one. What I would ask you to consider is just more specific language regarding the safety plan per event, as we've heard from the concerns with Supervisor Shuttler and Supervisor Hogan. It is my understanding, however, that we do review those COVID plans in-house, that is something that our county administrator has done on any event that has been before us. We've just had so few with occupancy tax money. So I know that he worked very hard, for example, with the Hockey Association in their review of safety plans and promoted those at a state level, which unfortunately, just given all the changes, we're not able to go forward. So I think we do have a very detailed role within those safety plans, but this added step to address the concerns, because perhaps there's one area that could go forward with a safe event, and in another area that activity may not be. And as we've already learned about that, for example, the helicopters, that was a really good example brought up. So I think that, per event might be incredibly useful. I don't know about incorporating the money aspect in the amendment to this resolution, because I don't really understand the reimbursement. I know each town does it a little different and how that works with the county. And I know that's something Supervisor Hogan's been asking for. But I would support the motion to amend just the piece about the individual safety plans, and with a caveat that, is there a way, and Supervisor Dickinson, this is your committee, but is there a way to set a meeting in the beginning of January outside of our regular meeting schedule to hear an update from Mr. Dutcher and the group? I don't want this to be construed in any way that we're saying that our business community doesn't know how to put on a safe event. That's not my angle on this at all. I think it's important that we recognize they're working very hard, but also the concerns that we are all responsible as elected officials to be addressing. So this seems like a good happy medium, but if we could get that update and we could do those individual safety plans and review them, I think that would be a great solution, as you suggested, Supervisor Wild.
Chairman, I'll agree to that modification.
Okay, before we get to the amendment, Supervisor Driscoll has been waving at me here for a while.
Thank you, Chairman. And can people hear me? Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to weigh in on this discussion. Certainly, there's a tremendous amount of merit to Supervisor Shepler's comments. I echo a lot of what Supervisor Hogan said. I think there's also tremendous amount of poignancy in the comments that Supervisor Conover made. The businesses in the Greater Glens Falls area know COVID as well as anyone, and can really teach and inform the public. My concern isn't as much with the businesses as it is with the large numbers of individuals who are either visiting Gore Mountain this coming weekend at West, major events. It's not as much the businesses, it is the guests and patrons of these types of activities and special events. I just wonder if we can require as an opportunity to vend at the event that we get individual plans from each of the vendors prior to allowing them into the Winter Carnival. If there's time to do that, they produce business plans on an annual basis. They know how to do that type of stuff. My concern also is who monitors that, who's going to be basically policing the event. So I'm torn between a rock and a hard place as far as my vote on this goes. I'd certainly like to hear from more people and possibly again rewrite the resolution as it stands now. Thanks.
Thank you. Supervisor Wild, I believe you were proposing an amendment to the resolution.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think I have this right, but as part of this resolution, we'd like to modify it to include the requirement that each individual vendor has a specific safety plan filed with the organizer and also presented to Warren County for review. And secondarily, that the distribution of the funds will be based on a 50-50 split, phase one being the advertising and the preparation, and that's $20,000. Once the event begins, then the next $20,000 will be released.
Let's start on that. And we have a second on that. I'll try to restate the amendment that each vendor has a specific safety plan that's filed with the organization group and also with the county for review. And the financial will be in two phases. Phase one is half of the $40,000 and phase two will be the other half. Is that accurate?
Let's start with me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. That's the proposed amendment. Yes.
I just had a question.
Okay.
Supervisor Wild, you had said in your motion that you want the first half to be spent on advertising and marketing. do we want to make it specific to advertising and marketing? That's all they can spend it on, or do you just want half to be given to them upfront to be used and then half to be given after the event?
I would like half to be upfront. There's more than just advertising. There's planning. There's a lot of work that's going to go into making this happen. So I hate to limit it just to advertising. Let's see if we can make it happen. So, thank you.
Okay. Briefly, discussion on the amendment. Proposed amendment. Okay, I see Supervisor Hogan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to ask Mary, is it legal for us to front money like that?
I think that we are in a gray area. I think that it could be perceived as a gift because we don't know how they're spending the money at this point. We don't know what they're spending the money on. If they don't spend the $20,000 and we have nothing in the contract that allows them to give that money back to us, that would be an improper gift from the county. If they spend the $20,000, then I think that the county is safe. Our current contracts are written so that people have to give us vouchers and receipts and they get paid back for those funds. I think that's much safer. So at the moment, it's not illegal, but it certainly could become illegal.
Thank you. I would ask Supervisor Wild to amend his motion.
No, Mama.
Mr. Chairman.
Wait a minute. She has the floor. Yes, go ahead.
I don't see why we can't proceed with it under the regular contract as a reimbursement situation. I don't know. And this was one of my concerns moving it so quickly. And again, I support it. I just want to know how this is going to play out safely and what metrics we're going to use on giving this money out, because we've already a couple times this year gone ahead and had the event canceled. And there's a real good chance this one's going to get canceled too. So, you know, I think we can stick with our regular contract for reimbursement, but put some caveats in there that if the event doesn't happen, something reverts to the county. That's all.
Okay, further discussion on the amendment to 523. Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is what Supervisor Wild was going to ask or not, but could I please ask our county attorney what language would need to be in that resolution to comply with the legalities that you're referencing so that we do this properly? I think that we have to put language in there that if they don't spend the $20,000 that they're being upfronted, they need to pay the county back whatever money they don't spend. Okay, so based on that legal advice, Supervisor Wild, is that a change then we would be able to make?
Absolutely. I'd at least direct your questions
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Would you please consider requesting from Supervisor Wild an amendment to his resolution to amend to reflect our county attorney's advice?
Yes, I will consider that, but there are still other people that want to comment on it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Supervisor Conover, I believe.
Yeah, maybe it's, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Maybe it's because some of us have been through this with many businesses throughout this whole period, have been intimately involved in all of this, and the changing regulations that have taken place from the beginning of this up to this day, and how to communicate that to our business community and how to keep everybody safe. And the kind of enforcement that's been involved across the entire spectrum, not only in terms of calls by supervisors, but enforcement people and visits by county personnel, no matter what that personnel might be. But I just want to say, for those that may not be aware, and maybe Ryan, you could briefly talk about because they may not be aware that there's a certification or attestation testing mechanism, a process within the COVID regulations right now where a business has to acknowledge that they've read the regulations and that they understand. Maybe Ryan, you could, if Mr. Chairman, if you could just allow him to say this, because I think it reinforces the amendment that's been proposed, is my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Administrator Moore.
Yes, there's approximately 800 businesses, 800, that are in Warren County that have filled out those attestations. And if you go to the New York Forward site, you look at all of the different guidelines for the different industry industry clusters, I should say. At the end of all of those guidelines, the detailed guidelines, not the summary guidelines, they got to read the detailed guidelines and click on a link that allows them to affirm that they understand what's required of them. So about 800 businesses in Warren County have done that. The requirements from the beginning, and these requirements have not changed, the state requires anybody who's in business to have a safety plan on file. And that safety plan needs to conform with whatever their guidelines are. It doesn't require that the state review and approve those safety plans. It doesn't require that the local governments review and approve those safety plans. They're required to have them, and they're required to be able to produce them on demand from any of those local governments. It's up to the local governments. That means the county, the city, the village, the towns. It's up to all of us to enforce all of the guidelines. So, and that's a major effort every day. We get, complaints every now and then, and even if they're not formal complaints, there's word of mouth stuff, and we go and we check it out. And a lot of the town supervisors, the various zoning officials, fire officials, police officials, those people are involved in that effort day to day. So does that answer the various questions about what's required as well as what happens? And I do review a number of safety plans. A lot of the big events, I would say most, if not all of them, have taken it upon themselves to work with my office in writing their safety plans, just to make sure they're doing it right. We're always a resource to anybody that needs that help and requests that help, and we will be in this case as well.
Okay, I think that does answer the question. Supervisor Wild, we've had a couple of proposals to amend your amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I have no ownership to the language in that amendment. I was just trying to make it happen. And I'm not an attorney, so I will defer to our county attorney to help with the appropriate language if she doesn't mind.
Okay, so I'm going to try to restate the amendment, and then I'm going to call questions. So, the first amendment is for each vendor to provide a safety plan with the organization that's organizing this activity, and also with the county for review. And the financial part is phase one, half of the 40,000, 20,000 for advertising and marketing up front. And I believe phase two, upon completion, and I can't give specific legal language.
Mr. Chairman? Yes, if I might, on that second part, the financial piece, I think it should state basically that we're authorizing the expenditure of $20,000 upon being provided the receipts. Something to that effect. We're not going to, I think the agreement was we're not going to front the money, provide it up front, but to reimburse.
So let me try to restate that. Phase one is for advertising and marketing, and that is half of the 40,000, and it'll be paid when receipts are submitted for the advertising and the marketing. You will be authorized to pay, and phase two will be upon completion, and again, that will require receipts.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, one more. I think we don't want to limit it to advertising, marketing. We wanted to have it include all the expenditures required to prepare for this event to happen. That language.
Okay, negate advertising and marketing and all expenditures required in phase one.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
And phase two, basically. Are we okay?
Does he have that? If I can get the second that revision motion.
I'll second the revision motion.
Okay, as a second. Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Can we just hear from our county attorney for that language? What I'm hearing may conflict with what she recommended, so maybe I'm wrong.
I agree.
So actually that language is better because it's a reimbursement basis. Like Supervisor Wild said they need to turn in receipts and vouchers. They will be paid based on those receipts and vouchers, which actually makes it much more legal than to say they need to reimburse us for costs that we paid them and they didn't spend.
But what about the cancellation language then?
No, I don't think we need it because we're only reimbursing them for receipts that they've turned into us, and they've actually paid for those products before they gave us the receipts.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Supervisor Wild, are we good? Yes, Mr. Chairman. Okay. So we have the amendment. Supervisor Garrity.
Real quick, I think it should be all allowable expenses. Somebody puts something in that's not allowable, you shouldn't reimburse it for it. Just to clarify that.
That makes sense.
Well, good.
Thank you. Okay, so I think we have an amendment on the floor, and I'm not sure we need to keep changing it. So I am going to call the question. I'll ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this. We've discussed this quite a bit.
Okay, Ms. Bramer?
This is on the amendment that
Yes.
we just discussed. Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson? Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
I woke him up.
Yeah.
Mr. Straugh?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
On the amendment, yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Amendment passes.
Chairman Thomas,
Yes. Supervisor Dickinson.
I dropped off the screen there for a while in that conversation. Could you reiterate what the resolution was?
Okay, the amendment to the resolution states that each vendor will provide a safety plan with the organizer of the event and also with Warren County for review. Wait a minute now, as far as financial, there'll be a phase one of $20,000 for expenses with vouchers and receipts. Phase two, upon completion, will also be $20,000 with vouchers and receipts. So I think that.
I'd like to thank everybody for their conversation in this. I appreciated everybody's comments, and also thank you for passing it.
Okay. Any other discussion on 523? All right, I'll.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just to check in with the Director of Tourism, any problems with the way the amendment or resolution reads? We proceed?
No, I think everything sounds fine.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll declare discussion on 523 closed, and it is a roll call vote. So, discussion on other. Okay. Well, that worked well the first time. All right. We do have resolution 524 where we need to waive the rules to bring resolution 525, and this pertains to the public works solid waste bid receipts and for recycling disposal and transportation services.
I will move that.
That includes five. Okay, moved by Supervisor Raymer, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. That also includes 526. That was part of it. So I'll call the question on waiving the rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. 525 and 526 is before us. Yes. Discussion on other resolutions.
Well, may I discuss on the 525, 526?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The numbers came out very late. It was a substantial increase in the hauling charges, not so much on the tipping fees themselves. And the way that this is compiled is that the lowest bid comes out onto a projected average tipping fee charge on top of the fixed hauling charge. And I don't know if the town of Chester fits in with those numbers that were used by procurement on determining the most appropriate vendor for the town of Chester because of the amount of tonnage that was involved in there. Is there a way for the town of Chester to review what may be the best vendor and award accordingly based on our actual averages this past year?
I would refer that to the county attorney. Can a town go away from what was recommended by purchasing to that town?
I mean, a town can always make any decision that they want. I believe what we do is we do one contract for each town, so we'll just have to separate your town out of the contract that the county does.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
But please talk to Julie.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Supervisor Garrity.
I think the purchasing department, Craig, will give you a breakout for your town specifically. I asked for one and got one from Julie.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what the cost would be to your town.
Yes, I did receive that. And then what was highlighted as the low cost vendor was based on certain numbers that I asked for. Yeah.
Okay. I think after the board approves the resolutions, we'll probably all the towns will receive that. Any other discussion on resolutions? Okay, Brian, Administrator Moore.
Thank you, sir. Just one point on the recycling contracts. We'll restart this process a couple of months early next year so that if there are concerns with getting the right number in the town budget, that those concerns are addressed. Also, in addition, I don't know that this is necessarily something you would want to do, but if there are any towns that would like to bid this out themselves and not go through the county process, just let our purchasing department know. And if that's something that's desired, she can walk you through how to do that.
Okay. Any roll calls on resolutions other than what's okay? Before we vote on resolutions, I would extend the privilege of the floor to the public to comment on a specific resolution. Mr. Lehman.
Hello, Chairman. We do have some comment from Gina Mincer on the resolution that was just discussed related to the Lake George winter activities. Ms. Mincer writes that Christian Dutcher, as an event planner, was very proactive planning versions of Americade earlier this year, all aspects with safety plans presented to the county. The Winter Festival Committee will assign someone specifically to review and enforce safety plans. That's the sum of her comments.
Any others?
Not on resolutions, no.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Resolution 521, some questions were brought up about the amended language being consistent with state law regarding the fire coordinator. I just wanted to put the question out there to county attorney, director, Mason, or county administrator Moore. Does the language in the proposed local law cooperate with the state laws regarding fire coordinator?
I'd be happy to talk to that.
Thank you, county attorney.
So the state law only applies if the county creates an office of county fire coordinator. Our county did not choose to do that. Our county created the Office of Emergency Services. So we don't actually have to follow Section 225A of the state law because that office doesn't exist here at this county. So our local law can deviate from that. When we talked about the local law, we talked about maybe changing the name of fire coordinator to something different so we didn't confuse it, but I don't think Anne Marie or Brian were comfortable doing that. It's just they're using the same term as the state law. We don't have to follow it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Supervisor Bramer.
Thank you so much. Now I'm thoroughly confused. I thought that Brian was our fire coordinator. I thought we had the office of the fire coordinator. That's why we're doing the local law to create Anne Marie's position, the Office of Emergency Services Director.
No, our county never created the Office of Fire Coordinator. They created a fire coordinator position within the Office of Emergency Services. So while Brian LaFleur is our fire coordinator, it's just a position that was created in the county. It's not an office that was created in the county.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, further public comment on resolutions? One more time, Mr. Lehman.
Let me just double check. I haven't seen any more, but I gotta get to that screen. No more comment on resolutions.
Okay, vote on resolutions.
Okay, resolution 440, making supplemental appropriations. Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Weil?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 441, making supplemental appropriations, amending Warren County budget for 2020. Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Weil?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 490, amending tables of organization. Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Weil?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 499, authorizing appropriation of funds from the general fund unappropriated surplus to the county treasurer's budget. Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Ms. Shepler,
Yes.
Mr. Garrity,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Chairman Thomas,
Yes.
resolution passes.
Excuse me, I would like to propose 503 through 507 as one vote without any objection. Seeing none.
Okay. So 503 through 507, Ms. Bramer,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno,
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
Ms. Hogan. I'm sorry, Ms. Hogan,
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson,
Yes.
Mr. Stroud,
Yes.
Mr. Wild,
Yes.
Mr. McGowan,
Yes.
Ms. Seaver,
Yes.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes.
Ms. Shepler,
Yes.
Mr. Garrity,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Mr. Leggett,
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
Chairman Thomas.
Yes.
Those were all of those resolutions passed. Resolution 519. Resolution 519 enacting local law number 2 of 2020, a local law imposing an additional mortgage reporting tax in Warren County. Ms. Bramer?
I share Supervisor McGowan's concerns. I will vote yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
No.
Mr. Beatty?
No.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 520 enacting local law number 1 of 2021, fixing the salaries of certain county officers and employees of Warren County. Ms. Bramer?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 523, authorizing agreement with Americade Inc. for disbursement of 2021 occupancy tax revenues as amended. Ms. Bramer?
I abstain.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Simpson?
Yes.
Ms. Hogan?
Yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
Yes.
Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
Mr. Wild?
Yes.
Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
Ms. Seaver?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
Yes.
Ms. Shepler?
Yes.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mr. Leggett?
Yes.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes.
Chairman Thomas?
Yes.
Resolution passes, and just need a collective on the rest.
Okay, collective vote on the remaining resolutions. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, very good. Privilege of the floor, public comment. Don, I believe you have,
We do have one comment here from a YouTuber who has a screen name of Garrett McEwen. Why is this board holding special meetings during working hours? Does literally no one on this board have a job? Are you all spending other people's money as a full-time hobby? That was the extent of his comment. I did explain that this was not a special board meeting, that it was the regular meeting of the month, and that it is archived on YouTube for anyone to watch at any time. So if you have any other responses, feel free to voice them now.
Yeah, this is a hobby, sure. Okay, privilege of the floor to the board. Yes, I think Supervisor Dickinson was waiting.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. I want to respond to Wild Mike's comments earlier. I probably should have done it then, but I didn't. Talking about the business community and the things he's involved in. The problem with existing older lakeside businesses right now, Mike, is when they sell them, if they're not sufficient to refurbish them economically and re-rent them, then people look elsewhere. And what they do is they find it to subdivide them. The latest one was probably around 40 units, and they bought it and subdivided it into 4 lots and made a tremendous amount of money because the lots are so valuable on the lake. That's the reason we're losing those units. The other part of that equation is if you look at the cost to put down all the buildings, get the engineering surveying work done to get a multi-unit approved, and then have to deal with all the, and in that process, deal with all the ecological issues, stormwater, sewage, water supply, et cetera, they're astronomical. You weigh those against the cost and value of simply subdividing and selling, there's no comparison. It's a no-brainer. So until that picture changes, you're going to continue to lose these units. The other point I would like to make is that Lake George presently is in the process of the town, in the process of dealing with Department of Environmental Conservation, the Department of Transportation in Warren County to rebuild Route 9N, the Bolton Road, from the village of Lake George to Hearthstone Park. And we want to make that a complete street. And we have partnered with the DEC, we the town, have partnered with the DEC and the DOT, Department of Transportation, to do this. It's a huge project. One of the aspects of that project is the DEC owns Hearthstone Park. It's a campground. They have a sewer line, pressure line, small one, 4-inch, runs from Hearthstone 2+ miles down to the village sewage lines. The line is at its limit, so that needs to be replaced. So they posed this question to the town. They said, if we paid for replacing that line, would you, the town, take it? We, of course, said yes. What we need is the support from the community for this project, because with that line, we can sewer the town of Lake George from Hearthstone Park to the village. And if we sewer and have municipal sewer, then a lot of these multi-unit rentals that we have, instead of subdividing them and having individual lots, they'd be more inclined to actually take the number of units they have and rebuild them, because they would have sewage, on-site sewage, which is a big problem for these businesses when they try to convert them. So they would have the sewage, and then they'd be able to do it. And at that point, we would stop losing all of them and hopefully pick up some significant ones. So I think that answers some of the questions you were raising and touches on some of the issues, Mike. And I would certainly be glad to discuss these and anything else with you outside this meeting. Lastly, I'd like to wish everybody happy and safe holiday. And I'd like to welcome a winter here 3 days early. Winter solstice is Monday. Apparently it's winter now. I look out and I see a guy plowing my driveway. I hardly see his truck. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Dennis. Thank you. Supervisor Seaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in response to Mr. Lehman's public comment from, I don't recall the person's name, but his or her comments, you know, I think every single one of us are dedicated to serving our community. And certainly we have for a long time talked about the meeting schedule and how we can best conduct meetings where the public could be involved on a regular basis, and went so far as to have at least one night meeting. So I hope that's something that we continue to discuss moving forward, but given all the competing schedules, I know it is a dialogue that we continue to have, but I, for one, I know I don't look at it as a hobby, and I think that all of us here have so many important roles and contributions that we make on many different levels throughout Warren County. So your comments are recognized, and I know we continue to talk about that very issue. So thank you.
Thank you. Any privilege of the floor? Yes, Mr. McGowan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say to everyone on the board, it's thank you for really, it was a tough year for all of us. A lot of things were thrown at us in all different directions, and we've had some difficult times, and we've all got through them. So I just want to thank everybody from, you know, working together, and some of the bonds that we have made along the way, and also to wish everybody a safe and happy holiday. And thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? I guess announcements. You know, I think we've kind of covered that. Good. Other than that, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and your families, and a motion to adjourn.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Moved by Supervisor Leggett, seconded by Supervisor Wild. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Thank you.
It was 4 minus 4 when I left.